to the MoxStars podcast. I am Menace, one of your hosts, and I'm here with Rampage.
What's up, baby?
Hey, yo. And we're back with Annihilator. Woo. Hey. What's going on, guys? It's the MoxStars podcast, the number one podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering, Dr. Pepper, and Bracket 3 Power Spectrum discussions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by finding us on YouTube, where you can like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more notifications. You can also find us on all podcasting platforms by leaving us a 5-star review. You make us look super duper cool and help new people find the show. You can also support us on Patreon by becoming an official Pepperhead for $3 a month. You can have your name turned Dr. Pepperhead on the Discord server, like McOyan, Definitely Jeremy, Mono Greg, Revenlift, UWP Quirt, Will Rule, Poolboy Barry, Ryan G, and Adam. You can also join the Discord server, where our community grows every single week, and we have Wednesday webcam wizardry coming up, and I believe this is the final week of this season. So yeah. Run us through it, Rampage. What's going on?
The final show, we're going back to our roots. We are playing Dr. Pepper themed decks. Any way you can incorporate those 23 flavors into your deck, we are running it. And I have something cool I want to show off real fast. Please keep talking. I'll find it.
Okay, he's finding it, and we're talking, and he's finding it, and we're talking, and there are things happening, but we're talking, and he's finding it.
I spoiled this a little bit in the Wednesday webcam wizardry chat a few weeks ago, but I made proxy dual lands.
Yes.
That are Dr. Pepper coated. So the Dr. Pepper cans that meet that color, like this cream soda 0 is my scrub land. Excited to show those off. Nobody's seen that yet, but they'll see it tonight after this podcast airs.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yes. This week, we're talking about Bracket 3 Power Spectrum. Before we get into that, we're actually going to launch a new segment called Play of the Week. And we're all playing games. We're all playing Magic every single week. And so, we're hoping this segment is something that launches, takes off, is something that you guys enjoy. So make sure you drop down in the comments below to give us your feedback, whether or not you like it, or if the play was too convoluted or what. I don't know. Just give us your feedback. But this week's Play of the Week actually comes from a game that both myself, Annihilator, and a buddy of ours, Gabe, who's also one of our Patreon supporters, were in we were in person, and we're playing, and Gabe was playing Hinata, and I was playing, Shiko, and Annihilator was playing Glarb.
Of course.
Glarb, your favorite deck.
My favorite deck of all decks.
And so basically what had happened was I had established an insane board state with Shiko. It come around to my turn, and Annihilator here was representing quite the threatening board state with a Displacer kit, and then he kept flickering up and down for advantage and using Glarb to surveil and keep looking and throwing lands into the graveyard to Head Shredder, because you had Head Shredder out and you continue putting lands onto the battlefield, and it was crazy. But and then he casts a counterbalance, right, to end his turn, goes to the next player, not a lot happens, and then it comes to me. And
it wasn't my Displacer kitten. Wasn't it his?
It was yours.
It was mine?
Yeah, you were Displacer kittening hard, dude.
Oh, see, I have this cognitive dissonance where I never want to take responsibility for that.
Yeah. Nobody wants to take a responsibility for the Displacer kitten.
We'll get into that later, but yeah. Okay, so I'm doing that.
Okay, so he's doing that. He puts a counterbalance down. He passes, and then it comes to me. And I've been begging for someone to swing into me so that I can block with Shiko, so that I can throw it back, so I can get it a new one. I've been honestly just flooding out with lands. So I top deck a Molten Duplication, and this is it, right? This is gonna be it for if it resolves. So Annihilator had done a bunch of top deck manipulation after dropping the counterbalance because Glarb lets you look. Glarb lets you look. So you knew exactly what was on top.
I didn't. This was blind.
Oh
It
my
just
God.
happened to be this way.
So I go to cast the Molten Duplication and he goes, ooh, let's see what I got.
Let's see what's under the hood
Yeah,
because I didn't know, and lo and behold, Heart of the Cards, reveal the top card. It's a Psychic Frog, CMC2. So unfortunately, his Molten Duplication gets stymied.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like,
You got
I'm
nothing.
like, oh, that's the piece. He's gonna win next turn. Like I just know it's gonna happen. And so it goes to Gabe, and I tell Gabe the same thing. I'm like, he's playing Hinata, which is what I think the play of the week really is.
Yeah.
But he plays Hinata or has it on the field and is trying to do Hinata things, but ultimately does not get there. And so it goes to Owen, who's now revealed the Psychic Frog and potentially the game ending play. And in his upkeep, I go ahead and try to lightning bolt the Displacer Kitten. But lo and behold, Gabe reminds us that Hinata has additional text, that it costs one more to target. Like if you opponent casts a spell that has a target, it costs one more to cast. So I have to pay 2 mana for this lightning bolt. Try to zap it, right? And then Annihilator here responds with an Amphibian Downpour. And so he's got to pay 1 extra for that, whatever. Storm Trigger gets an additional 1 since 1 spell had been cast before, and now he targets Hinata with one of them and the other player's commander with the other one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yep. And so I'm just like, I got to respond to this on the stack. At least I thought I did. And so I have a Prismari command, and I go and I try to kill the Displacer Kitten with the 2 damage and then destroy an artifact. Now I have to pay 2 additional mana for it. And so it cost me 5 freaking mana because Hinata is still on the field. I didn't allow the Amphibian Downpour to resolve.
And you only had 5 to begin?
And I only had 5 left. So I had to pay it, or at least I felt like I had to pay it all while I still had a counterspell in hand. And I'm like, Gabe, your Hinata is killing me. No, my patience is killing me. I didn't have patience to wait for the Amphibian Downpour to resolve to kill the Displacer Kitten. But man, it was so frustrating. And because honestly, it just harkens back to like how good Hinata is in a lot of scenarios. That static line of text. And this is why I think it is maybe the play of the week was definitely the counterbalance frog flip, but I felt like
Blind frog flip from full
Jesus,
court. From full court. Who could have seen it coming? The buzzer beating game winning card just happening to be on top of this Sultai player's deck. Nobody ever anticipates as the Sultai player put the game winning piece on top of their deck.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I was just the Hinata ability affected me so dramatically that I was just like, oh my God, that's so good.
And I think the takeaway too is that in that moment, you're so blindly focused on dealing with what you consider, the FBI's most wanted, the number one threat at the table.
Yeah.
As the table stands, that you're not thinking about what it looks like after what just happened resolved.
Right.
So you need to get through that door right now. And I think a lot of players play this way, and you're typically not as reactive of a player. That's why I enjoy playing Magic with you so much, is you're more intuitive, you take more time, and you're thinking a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to those last turn rotations in a 4-player game, it does start to feel like every single spell that's cast is maybe your last chance to respond to anything.
Because it's like when it's like you're losing the game, or
how many more times are you going to have priority?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I think the takeaway is like, rather than let that instant burn a hole in your pocket and you have to pop it off as soon as you get priority, let the dust settle and see what's there after. Because if you would have been able to kill the kitten, and you would have been able to kill a pretty full artifact on their side as well.
Yeah. And I had the counterspell available for Gitrog.
Right.
Yeah. And you were showing Psychic Frog, and that was like basically the alarm bell saying like, oh yeah, this is happening. Like the game's going to end. So I felt like I had to act, and I didn't. I just had to be patient. So this could have been ESPN's top 10 with the frog flip, and then also ESPN's not top 10.
Was this the Hinata list that inspired your Hinata thoughts on a previous podcast?
This was so actually Gabe, who we play with pretty often now. This was like Gabe was the one who inspired me to want to talk about Hinata. He was asking about like what deck he should build next and like looking for inspiration. And I said, hey, just go back to Hinata. And then he got so inspired. He built a deck list completely separate from mine. And so, yeah, it sort of stemmed from our conversation on the podcast a couple weeks ago now.
Yep.
So
reading the card explains the card, folks.
Yep. It's a lesson I hate learning. And I keep messing up. So, all right. This week's main subject, there has been a lot of discussion. Obviously, this is the format that is most popular out in the world. It is Magic's this is the format that everyone plays, right? It's Commander. And ever since the bracket system was implemented, it's been scrutinized pretty heavily. Like there's a lot of gray areas within it. There are, every player has their preferential bracket to play in. And then even the acknowledgement of cEDH has been heavily scrutinized. But the bracket that I feel like most players feel they fall within, and the bracket that most players feel they like to build within, is bracket 3. And today's discussion, we're going to talk about the spectrum of power within bracket 3. And this is also sort of a deck tech, because I built a deck. It's called Team Urza. And it's a Teamer Animar list that focuses on bringing Urza to the battlefield to create constructs and generate advantage. And Rampage, did I send you this list? You have this list. Yes.
Yep,
so
I got it up.
This list, when I posted it to the Discord server on the MoxStars Discord server, you should go ahead and join. It was met with Rampage saying, well, let me see if I can quote you here. Do bracket 4 decks with less than 3 or with 3 or less game changers count as bracket 3?
Like, at what point do we look at a deck and say this is a 4? Maybe it plays no game changers, right? I was looking at this. You just had made, I don't even think it was the point of your post. You're like, how does this deck look, but in bracket 3? And I'm like, let's focus on that point a little bit. Bracket 3?
Yeah.
Are you maybe just, is that what we're going to do today on the pod? We're just going to fight? Or
I want us to yell at each other.
I don't think we're just going to fight.
We never yell at each other.
Okay, I think we can dissect this a little bit. And I'm fine yelling at people always, but I think while we yell at each other, there can be some reasons, right? If we start looking at this list, I think first of all, let's hear the claimant's argument first.
Okay.
Why is this a bracket 4 deck, Rampage?
Your Honor. So I don't know. I go in,
Case dismissed.
I just came from a cEDH tournament.
Yes.
And I guess what struck me the quickest and the fastest was the resonance of generically great cards.
Yes.
Okay.
So here we are. I'm just going to do a quick scroll. And let's look at some generically great cards. Displacer Kitten. Vitality. We love that.
Yep.
The tutor package. So Eldritch Evolution, Finale, Neoform, Transmute Artifact. Free counter magic.
Where's the free counter
I have
magic?
I have Force of Negation.
Force of Neg is the only one?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and Force of Vigor.
That is not a counter spell.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
One Ring, Remora, phenomenal mana base. So,
thank you.
That's what I saw. That's what my gut said.
There's a cradle. There's a cradle.
It's a good deck. It's a good deck. And Menace, you built it. It's going to be a great deck. I will simultaneously acknowledge there's some not cEDH stuff, right? There's things that you would never see at a cEDH table. Those are also in this list. I guess the whole point was, at what point can we just keep jamming juice in decks that's not theme, and still call it a 3? My thought, or I guess concern rather, is that, I ask, well, you this deck's clearly a 4. What are you doing with Neoform? And Menace's response is,
I'm looking for Urza.
Urza.
Yes. So the whole reason for the deck, and the whole reason I chose Animar, which was a 3 mana value commander, was so that I could Birthing Pod in Neoform into Urza. Like that's the intention.
Because we had another great comment in that thread, in the Discord, that this deck is a lot about intent. If you're using your tutors to go for mono blue Urza in your teamer deck, and you don't have infinite mana, you are just trying to make constructs. Great, I could be on bracket 3 team. But then I think, if I'm playing this deck and I don't know the intent is that this is a secret second commander Urza list,
yeah,
I'm going to do evil with that, and I'm going to try to win the game.
Well, you're trying to win the game, I think, at all times. That's so that
if you're a good,
hold on,
if you're an even decent Magic player, and I know that sounds snarky.
Look at this guy.
But I think there's a serious problem in that people coming into Commander, if you're a new player and you're playing with precons, or you have kind of like a pet deck that made you get into the format, which is how a lot of players get into Commander nowadays, especially with Universes Beyond, is some product comes out, Avatar, Final Fantasy. It's going to be The Hobbit is the next big one, right? Because nobody's...
No, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
If that gets people to start playing Magic, I'll be pretty surprised. But, the question is it going to keep people playing Magic? Which probably not.
Probably not.
Anyway, all I'm saying is all of these things, they hit the shelves. Precons come out for Bloomburrow, for whatever, and they have these really cute commanders that a lot of people want to jump in and play. If there's a new vampire precon, it always gets a ton of people playing the game. If there's a new dinosaur precon, it gets a ton of people playing the game. Sometimes even a good secret lair like Animar gets a really nice new art, full borderless art, gets people playing the game. When people come in that way, they're not playing to win because they're new enough that they understand that this is a very complicated game, and that they're trying to learn. They're trying to grow their skills. Just like if you started playing a sport right off the jump, you're not saying, I want to have the most touchdowns. I want to have the most running yards. I'm going to be the best player on the field. You want to learn the basics first. My thing is that once you start customizing a deck and you're building into specifically a design philosophy, which is you're saying, I'm targeting this bracket. I want to build a bracket 3 deck. You should have a way to win the game. In fact, if you don't, I kind of despise you, because there are a lot of people who do this where they're that player, right? They joined, they started playing the game, they're passionate about it. They have maybe an IP or a theme or a kindred type that they love to play, and they build out that bracket 3 deck. And what does it do? It's a pile of good stuff, and they spin their wheels. They don't have a way to finish the game. And they are always the players who are the most upset when somebody who has a deck that has an out or several outs uses one of those outs and finishes the game.
Or just a level of interaction.
That is a whole other thing too, which we continuously talk about on this pod, which, I think I've said it several times now. If you play more interaction, you will enjoy your games more.
Yes. People
are very scared of interaction because they think it's like a mean thing. That stigma needs to be thrown away completely. Every good game that you've ever played, and I mean any game, video game, board game, sport.
There's like a juggle happening at some point.
There has to be a juggle.
Yeah.
If you played chess against a really bad computer every time, you'd think chess was a boring, stupid game.
Yeah, no, there's an exchange of fists.
It doesn't make sense to play without interaction, and it just makes it so whoever has the out first wins. So without getting too far down that rabbit hole, I think, when you look at a pile of cards and you say, okay, is this a 3? Is this a 4? What's the intent? And you start seeing some cards like, with Animar, obviously the first card that comes to everyone's mind is Ancestral Statue. When you see this generically good card that does the generic thing with this commander that everybody knows about, do you immediately go, oh, well, it's a 4? And I think that's a little unfair. I think that's a little unreasonable, because what you're saying is that just because this one card is in this deck that does the one infinite thing, and no, this doesn't win the game on the spot. There's builds where Ancestral Statue does win you the game, but notice there is no intruder alarm in this deck.
No, and There's
no way to draw cards off casting this a million times.
Only with the Great Henge. So Sure. But then it's 3 cards, and then you start building up the accrued board state that is defined by a bracket 3 deck. So I will preface before you get further into your argument is that I did remove a Walking Ballista, and so that you don't just get Animar, Ancestral Statue, Walking Ballista, and win. I also took away a couple of lands that are a little bit more powerful, like City of Brass, Cavern of Souls. And then I also removed the Urza's Command because that was just way too strong. So, but yes. So yeah, you can now continue with the point. I did edit this slightly, but before, go ahead. I'll divulge in just a second.
No. I mean, like we said earlier, we can yell at each other. I think that is just primarily my issue with immediately identifying things as 4s. There's players that I don't play with because all they have are 4s, and their 4s are very vague. And in a lot of ways, 3s and 4s are pretty vague. Obviously, a 5 is really easy to tell because it's a stock cEDH list. Stock cEDH lists are very easy to tell apart because 85 of the 100 cards are always the same.
Yes.
So, whatever those other 15 cards will be, they're not going to make it from a 5 to a 4.
Yeah. So I will say that once Rampage actually brought the discussion once I posted the list and we started, and I saw your message, I immediately was heated.
It's true.
I was mad because I was like,
I was mad on the phone when you told me.
Yeah, I put a lot of
and I hadn't even seen the list yet. I'm just like, well, it's a 3.
No, I put a lot of effort. Into this, make sure it wasn't a 4. But so I was a little mad. Not like I wasn't mad. I was like, okay, I need someone to give me the validation. So I went to Reddit.
Oh God.
And I posted it on Reddit. And this is where it actually gets interesting, right? And where the discussion sort of comes in. I wrote, Teamer Urza build Animar bracket 3 or bracket 4. My play group is having trouble deciding whether I'm trying to disguise something, which meets all the criteria of bracket 3 as a bracket 4 deck. And then I wrote, are there too many boogeyman cards in the deck? Do folks see Kinnan, Bloomtender, Delighted Halfling, Ragavan, Birds of Paradise, etc. as a hyper-efficient ramp package? The deck is incredibly mana-intensive, focuses on Urza, the prototype mechanic, and includes the Horizon Forbidden West cards as flavor value includes. Really tried to give the Brothers War cards a home. So that is a point that I want to talk about when it comes to bracket 3, and we're building into this bracket with intention, but you are trying to magnify a less than optimal strategy like prototype and stuff like that. You have to have, while that brings the power level of your deck down, you also, in my mind, I think, well, I now have to have more efficient cards to make up for that deficiency to still remain, at least for the deck to still remain powerful. So that's why I included Birds of Paradise, Delight Halfling, Ragavan. Kinnan is in there, because if I do get to spin the wheel, awesome. I might hit a prototype card off of it and then get a cheap, a cheap way to have Arcane Proxy come in and soul immolation or something, and then I guess to further divulge on the post, it caused a lot of discussion. More than I was ever imagining. And I went through and I downvoted people who didn't agree with me, like you should. But
what a good use of your time.
Yeah. Yep. Great use.
Yeah.
A lot of people affirm me, but one guy writes, this is a bracket 3 Animar with an insane amount of jank in it. Aloy, Proxy, Blightsteel, Oko, Saheeli, Urza, Mirrorform, etc. Totally bracket 3. This deck is not trying to push Animar to its maximum. I rather think that your pod is playing low tier bracket 3. Bracket 3 is vast. So
Fair.
That's where I think that, yes, the description of bracket 3, now that we go over to the Commander brackets update from October 25th, 2025, it says that in bracket 3, players expect decks to be powered up with strong synergy and high card quality. They can effectively disrupt opponents. Okay, we're here. The deck has strong synergies with artifacts coming in that are high mana value to trigger Simulacrum Synthesizer to create constructs. I'm literally playing Karn. What's that? The 4 mana Planeswalker that nobody likes, Scion of Urza, just to create constructs. And then, as well, and then I'm having a very diverse package of interactions so that I can, interact with the game. So I'm not just like falling behind constantly when my cards don't, I don't know, Christmas Land, the perfect hand. So I can effectively disrupt opponents. I have high card quality, strong synergies. And then it continues to say win conditions that can be played from hand in 1 turn, usually because of steadily accrued resources. I would want to know where I broke the rule there. Yeah. Because the idea is to build a deck that accrues resources incrementally. And sure, I have tutors, but they removed the whole tutor restriction from the brackets argument. So there's no longer the whole few tutors thing. So I'm playing Birthing Pod to sacrifice my Animar to get my Urza. And also Birthing Pod triggers Simulacrum Synthesizer, which gives me a construct. I'm playing Repurposing Bay, not to tutor for Ancestral Statue, but to tutor for the Simulacrum Synthesizer. It's why I have a couple of 2 mana artifact creatures, a few 2 mana artifacts to be able to get into the synthesizer. And then, yes, does it get Ancestral Statue? And then can I pop off with Animar? Yes, but it doesn't win the game. It allows me to blink Ancestral Statue infinitely and make Animar infinitely big. But that's it. There's no way for me to win the game on that turn unless I also have a Simulacrum Synthesizer at that same point, in which case then I generate infinite constructs, but I don't have haste. So there's no way to win there. Right. But this is all stuff that's being played from the hand.
Right.
It's not being cheated onto the field for anything. Gameplay to feature many proactive and reactive plays. That encourages stacks and interaction. I feel like that line does, right? You're being proactive with stacks, which I don't really play any. And then you're being reactive, which I have 17 forms of reactive play interaction. To play at least 6 turns before anyone wins or loses. Now, this is kind of where, yes, the deck can pop off on turn 4, I guess, if you're able to assemble that. But that's a Christmas Land scenario. Which is where kind of that boogeyman argument comes in, because you're well, what if you get Animar and Ancestral Statue, and then you have a blue card and Force of Negation in hand? Then you're just, and then you go, what? How do I move forward? How do I do it? But a lot of the arguments that were happening on Reddit were like that. We're just saying, I see this combo, so this is not bracket 3. This is bracket 4. But I think this is where we need to acknowledge that bracket 3 is vast. I've met all the conditions that are outlined by Wizards of the Coast. I'm not trying to trick anybody. I'm not trying to, surprise anyone at the table by playing a bracket 4 deck that's, bracket 3.
I think the distinction too is the intention is huge.
Yes, and
also,
expectations.
I think the idea of adhering to almost any strategy kind of tends to land you in a 3 or 4 with how you go about doing it. And, obviously I think a 2 almost barely has a strategy. It's just maybe it's a theme, all of your stuff is a kindred type or something.
Yeah.
Whereas 4 is it's very optimized to do one specific line or maybe a few different lines, and do them rather quickly. versus I think a 3 can do that. It might be a little more convoluted, and there might be a more fun way of doing it, that it's a little more roundabout because there is a theme like this. But there is no blowout win here. And the other thing is that you're not going about doing this in the most disrespectful way you could. That I think is really important. When I mentioned earlier that there's a lot of players that I encounter in the area that I tend to not like playing against, it's players who just say, well, I only have 4s. And those players strike me in kind of a sour way, because it's like, you didn't try to adhere to any deck building philosophy
or rule 0 or any
the reason you only have 4s, if you're that kind of a guy, is you just don't like the bracket system, or you don't really care about your opponent's play experience. You just want to play whatever cards you want to play. And to an extent I can respect that, but respectfully, you should only be playing against other players like that. If you're playing against people who worked hard to make sure that their deck fit within a certain bracket or criteria, if you just went all no holds barred and built a $10,000 commander deck just to kind of flex your money or whatever you wanted to do,
sure,
it's
your collection,
whatever it is. Because I see a lot of these where, they play very reactively. They have all of these cards. They have all of the free counter spells. They have all of the very expensive resource gaining cards that they're playing just to play them because they're good. Whereas if you see a deck like this and you see the scary cards, you see the One Ring, you see you see Gaia's Cradle, you see Displacer Kitten, those are really scary cards. If I see those cards, I'm very curious about where your deck ends up.
That's what I was going to ask next.
But then you look at the rest of the deck and you say, okay, but what's the ceiling there? What's the payoff? Are you using Cradle to untap it and flicker an elf and win with infinite mana on an outlet? No, there's no ballista. Okay, and Displacer Kitten, are you flickering something that locks your opponents out of the game or makes it so you can't interact with anything on your board? No, you're not. You're not doing that. You're playing a weird line where you're just trying to flicker one creature to make a construct token over and over again.
Yeah,
that's immediately it's kind of dispelled. It's decks where you see all of those kinds of scary cards, and it almost seems like there isn't a specific reason. They're just playing them for value, that I think you start to go over to the 4 and the 5 range. Because the cEDH decks play those cards, but they play those cards because they are generically powerful and they need redundancy of generically powerful cards. Not because, they have one cute little outlet that they want to use that powerful card to work.
Yeah.
Through.
So I guess, and my question is for all of those listeners out there whose perspective changes or there becomes this uncertainty of whether a deck is bracket 3 or bracket 3 or bracket 4. Is it the boogeyman cards that do it? Do you see a turn 1 Ragavan or a turn 1 Bird's Paradise and think, oh brother, is it just something that happens early in the game that immediately changes the tone to make you believe that you cannot trust this person to honor the expectation of the game? Or is it, later in the game, if it's turn 8 and I present a Displacer Kitten and I flicker Urza a couple times, is that too much? Is just the presence of Displacer Kitten enough of an acknowledgement or an acknowledgement of a competitive format, even that I'm just blowing it out of the water? And then I also want to ask you guys, what is at the bottom of bracket 3? What is low end bracket 3? Because at this point I have a hard time understanding it, because most of the time when I build decks, we're at the high end. Yeah, we build at the high end, but the intention is never to build a 4 because we want to honor the creative deck building. Which I think, 4 doesn't force you to have any of that creativity. It doesn't. And you can. 3 does. Yes. Sorry, what was that, Rampage?
I guess I got a couple of points. I want to pose. I want to ask questions. If, let's say, if you have a deck, and you have 4 cards, and you have 4 boogeyman 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 this whole discussion, I think is been super powerful. You like to build at the top end of bracket 3. What if this is a low end, bottom end bracket 4? Like is there a world where that's true?
Wait, it wouldn't be fun. Yeah, well, yeah, sure. I will entertain
What would
that thought.
be different about it? To call this a low end bracket 4, what would you do differently?
I think this would have to have just based on the Wizards definition, like literally based on the way it is outlined in so many words. There would be a win condition that could happen suddenly, explosive, and again, there's that expectation of turns. A 3 expects to play at least 6 turns before anyone wins or loses. I'm looking at this list. It's fast. It's got a lot of tutors. I see no table where this wins before turn 6.
Thank you.
There's no table where this wins before turn 6. Show me the line. You can at the very fastest get Animar out on turn 2, and then turn 3 you could you can't get statue for free until turn 4 or 5. And even once you have Animar with infinite counters, that doesn't win the game. And he doesn't have anything that he could cast that will do that.
Or win the game on the spot.
He has a Meteor Golem, but that doesn't hit lands.
I will say
there isn't a lock with Displacer Kitten. And at this point, now we're talking about 4 or 5 cards required to generate value on a turn that is like turn 5.
Yeah.
None of this is a hard lock. There's no way that this deck can kill the table before turn 6. This deck could maybe kill a player on turn 6 if it got lucky.
I would say a lot of turn 5, I could kill a player if I were to assemble the ancestral statue thing perfectly and then drop a blight
ton
steal.
Of artifacts.
Drop a blight steal, and then I have to wait for it to go around, and I could punch one person.
Yeah, just because you have Blightsteel.
Yeah,
sure. But again, that's not a 4. A 4 would be like I'm cheating in the Blightsteel on turn 3, so I can hit a player on turn 4,
giving it Myriad and punching everyone. Yeah. Yes, please.
Can I challenge something there?
Sure.
I hear you, and you've only said 2 things. I'm on your team. Is there a difference between? Well, I can't win right away. I made infinite constructs, but
there's no.
I don't win. That doesn't win me the game. And you are so correct. You are the game is still going on at that point.
Yes.
But what happens the next turn? You give all of your opponents one turn to find exactly a board wipe.
Yeah, I would say. I would say that's
how
not
big of a difference.
How many commander decks fall into that exact place, though?
And waiting one more turn. How big of a difference is that?
That's not a 4.
Now,
most commander decks fall into that place. How many commander decks have an explosive turn and then your opponents have to find a board wipe? What do you mean?
Well, they can spot remove the big scary thing, but when you're making infinite scary things.
He's not making infinite scary things. There's nothing in this that makes infinite constructs.
Simulacrum Synthesizer in tandem with Animar and Ancestral Statue can create infinite constructs because it's an artifact.
Sure. The intent of the deck, right?
Yeah, to create constructs.
Synthesizer and Urza.
Okay, I forgot about the big blue balls. But even that being said, it's I think in our Hanada game this also happened. He had he was playing Tameshi. I don't know if you were.
I didn't play that game. No.
But he had
he had a way to generate
the cat token generator that costs 4 mana whenever a land enters.
Yeah. Felidar Retreat. Yep.
So he made infinite cats, and he was like, well, this is probably it. I was like, well, is it? Do they have haste?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at like my hand, like if I get another turn, I don't care about your cats.
I think the question is when did that happen? Did it happen past turn 6? Was it through accrued value? Was it through all these things? So that's where, like, what I will say about this deck, if I am to, build it as a low end 4, what would I do to change it to amplify these things?
Crossroads.
It's just like, what I would do is I would cut the prototype stuff and focus in more on like getting Urza and getting like infinite flickers to abuse like Cloudstone Curio type effects or whatever for infinite constructs, right? That would be the way to do it. Generate infinite mana, pop something off, have a win condition that's it requires infinite blue mana, right? I could do something like that. The other thing that I would say is if the deck was the same as it is now, or if I left the Walking Ballista in and I were to agree to play at a bracket 4 table with this deck, I would have a bad time, right? I would be moving so slowly compared to a lot of like the other decks that are just, using tutors to get to the lines that they believe, that their decks are designed to run. And then I would just sort of be like stumbling and hoping and praying because that I'm falling into the right.
And I do have tutors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think somebody on Reddit counted that I have 11 tutors. Like,
yeah, you have 9 pieces of interaction. I mean, I feel like you could be buoyant at a 4 table. But I don't think you're winning. I don't think you're effectively interacting enough. Also, anything you do is fragile. Anything you do has a target on your back immediately.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm presenting Animar and then I go to put an Ancestral Statue on the stack, I think I get countered. And then I'm
100%.
And then I'm really pressed to find a win condition after that or find a way to generate advantage after that.
It's okay, right? Which is good, right? We just talked about how important interaction and
yes,
and
it is.
Yeah.
That's good, right?
Yes.
It sounds negative, but it is good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that bracket 3 should have the same amount of interaction as bracket 4. Like
absolutely.
Like there's no difference in the concept of interaction because the bracket specifically says that gameplay is to be explosive and powerful, or it's to feature many proactive and reactive plays. And that decks are powered up with strong synergy and high card quality. They can effectively disrupt opponents. I think that encourages a level of interaction that, is designed to keep the game going to get to turn 6 or later. And this is where I think players misinterpret the difference between bracket 3 and bracket 4 is you go through and you look at the list and you see 17 instants. Much like many of them being removal or like I have deflecting swat, court of calling, heroic intervention. 3 steps ahead is just there to create a copy of the big blue balls.
Sure.
And, that was the intention, but it's also a counter spell. I'm playing Tyvar's Stand for God's sake, and I do not know why.
I did question that. That was my Achilles heel in this discussion. You just brought that up, and now I'm like, fuck. Yeah, it's a 3.
Yeah.
see, but this is the thing. I've heard this argument both ways. We're really spinning our wheels here. You're saying, like, what is the boogeyman? I've heard that from cEDH players as well, where they'll see one card and they're like,
Tezzeret the Seeker.
If you're playing that, then you're not playing.
Cannon.
If you're playing that, you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't come down to one boogeyman card. I'd say the cards that really do tend to draw the most salt or the most side eye, in my experience, are like, for example, in the Shiko deck of mine that you played last week. There's a Lion's Eye Diamond.
Yes. Oh my God. As soon as that appears.
There's an LED. Now I've played this. It's a 3. This deck is a 3.
Absolutely a 3.
How many 3s have an LED in them? I'd say 1. I think it's my Shiko.
I think it's that one.
So when I play that card at a table where we've all agreed to play 3s, and I've been doing level 3 stuff.
Yeah.
I've been doing nothing that's oppressive or crazy like that. It takes a very long time for that deck to set up.
Yep.
It's pretty fragile. It's fragile, but it's also resilient. It can come back quickly.
Here, let me pull up the deck list that we're talking about.
I'm just saying, when you play an LED, a card that is on the reserve list that is $800, that is so niche.
Is it $800?
Yeah. I think it is now. Is it?
Almost 600. Yeah.
$600. When Legacy was still being played, it was more money for about crazy. 2 years. Anyway, but when you're playing this card, your opponents are immediately suspicious of you. They think, what do you mean?
You've broken the contract.
You're saying this is a 3, and that's what I was thinking looking at your list, because you have Transmute Artifact.
Yeah, I do.
Now, Transmute Artifact is a card from Antiquities that you aren't going to see people play.
No.
It is a $200 artifact tutor.
It's $400 now.
Okay. Yes. Even more to the point, you don't see this card at many tables, if ever. And so if you see this played even in a proxy form, and I'd agree, I'd argue, not people aren't as open-minded yet for some reason. Even if you see a proxy version of this card hit the table, people are going to be like, really, man? You proxy that? You're going to proxy that card and bust my ass with a $400 fake card? That's what you're going to do?
Sure.
I'm sitting here playing with shock lands that I put into my pre-con that I had to spend $40 to get.
I just got from the pre-release.
I'm toiling away trying to increase this 2 to a 3, one land station at a time. And you're playing with this fake $400 card and I got to lose. See, that the problem there is, if you're losing to one card that provides slightly marginal value, you're not. That doesn't happen. No one's. I've played thousands and thousands of games.
Yeah.
I have the achievement on Arena where I've played 5,000 games on Arena. That's on Arena. Jesus. And I've played way more paper. I've been playing paper Magic since I was 9 years old. I have never in my life said that I lost a game of Commander because one guy had one fancy card. I'd say with the exception of this one asshole who used to play an actual Tabernacle in his Azusa deck when I was like 13. But that guy, I think they just deported him. I think they were just like, you can't play a Tabernacle. That's against the Geneva Convention. We're going to take you to the UN.
It's funny that's not even a game changer or a fucking.
It's not, but it's one of my point is it's an inaccessible.
That's my one
card.
F-bomb the whole show. This is rated PG-13.
This is rated. It's one of those cards that if you actually saw it being played, you'd kind of throw up your hands and be like, why do I have to play against?
Yeah. Now, okay, so. That concept in mind, right?
When you're talking about a boogeyman, I'm thinking like those are the cards I consider boogeyman, is the cards that people would feel maybe embarrassed or unwilling to proxy and are accessibility wise unapproachable due to cost.
Correct. Yes. No. So that is the next point I want to make, is that does money and how much money you spend on a deck affect the perception of it? Because in the cards that are on reserve list and do cost a lot of money, do they actually cause do they actually move the needle enough to push a deck over the limit? Now, there's a tool out there, dear listener, called the EDH Power Level Calculator. This is a tool introduced to us by Gabe. Gabe, you're getting a lot of airtime here on the MoxStars podcast, the #1 podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering and Dr. Pepper. But I went ahead and plugged in this Team Urza deck into the Power Calculator. After I made a few arrangements, right? I took the Cavernous Souls out. I put in a Talon Gates, and I took out a couple other things. I took out the Walking Ballista, and I put in a Liberator. And then I calculated it. It comes out to be an 8.95 out of 10 out of all decks of all time, right? Like, this is basically a 9 out of 10 as far as the Power Calculator goes. And then it says, this is a Commander bracket 4 deck. The Power Calculator says so.
But it's all green on 3.
But then it says you're not chaining extra turns. You're no mass land denial, only late game 2-card combos, and you have 3 game changers. So I qualify for bracket 3, but it is recommended that I play in bracket 4. Okay. The Power Calculator would say so. But then I went down and I saw that the weighted scores for different cards on this spectrum, right? Because they apply a number to everything that
impact score. The
impact score, correct. So the total impact is 925.34 out of 1,000.
Wow. Look at just for example, look at Deflecting Swat.
Yes. So Deflecting Swat
by itself, this will completely change the score of a deck.
18 points.
And 100% efficiency, because it's a free spell. They're weighing this think about what that would do to the average ranking of your deck. And Force of Vigor, Force of Negation, also 16 points, 100% efficiency.
Yes, 11 points for Force of Vigor, 100% efficiency. Now, here's where I really want to make the point is of reserve list cards tipping the needle over or changing perspective is when we go down and we look at something like Volcanic Island, let's say. That is a nearly 12-point impact score. Do you believe that dual lands, because they're reserve list and they're not as readily accessible, create more of an impact in the game? Do they change the game and the outcome of the game enough to warrant a 12-point weighted weight on the impact scale?
The thing is you got to do all this thinking in
mental gymnastics.
Well, you got to think about all these things with respect to other cards, and when you look at the impact that they're putting on some of these other cards, you just Transmute Artifact 72% efficient. I think it's much higher than that. And 16 points. But then the One Ring almost 19 points and only 45% efficient. The One Ring is 45% efficient. And the Great Henge, 28% efficient, but an 18-point card.
Yes. So
that's, I mean, you're talking about the impact of these cards is so high, but the efficiency almost seems directly tied to just the mana cost.
Yeah. There is no perfect tool to, I think, to really define whether a deck is power 3 or power 4, whatever, or bracket 3 or bracket 4. But intent does matter. And that's where I believe that when people are going to look through the list to determine whether or not it's bracket 3 or bracket 4, they're going to look and see cards like Transmute Artifact, see its weighted scale, or in their mind, because it's reserve list, are going to give it additional weight and change the perception, even though the intention of the deck is just to create constructs. Like Mystic Remora. Mystic Remora is a 15-point weight to it.
That's crazy.
Let's see. What else are massive things? Like Finale of Devastation is a 16-point weight. Blightsteel Colossus is a 14-point weight to it with a 0% efficiency. So all these things, yes, did it calculate to be a 9 out of 10? Sure. Does it have the potential to do so, to pop off and present an infinite construct loop? Yes, it does have that. Yeah. Anyway, my point is that I think that my carding choice, regardless of the intention or how it affects power level, has changed the perspective to make it look like a bracket 4 deck, because the mana, I have fetch lands, I have dual lands, I have, ways to fix my colors and stuff like that. It's, I don't want to get too off track on this, but
I think to wrap up, what we started with was bracket 3 is a spectrum, and it's so
very wide.
And it's so wide that bell curve of where your deck can fall in a bracket 3. And when I hear a bracket 3, I think the center, the middle of the bell curve. And what you're doing here, what you've admitted to do, say you do all the time, is that you're playing at the top end of 3.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where perception gets, your deck is closer to a 4 than the center of bracket 3.
I would agree with that. That I do limit the number of game changers. I try to include the maximum number of game changers that I can in a deck to help push the efficiency of the deck. So yes, I would agree with that this is closer to a 4 than it is a 3. But even when we look at the lower power of 3, something that even lies towards the middle of it, for example, the Final Fantasy Precon with Titus, right? It's the counters one that you can move things around.
Yeah.
Maldhound, funny enough, was malding really hard about this. He was saying that, oh my God, I cannot believe they just put this combo in a pre-constructed deck. And he's talking about a Walking Ballista combo that is possible to assemble via the right 7 cards in your hand to start the game. Right. And then you have to top deck the perfect card. But on turn 2, that you could assemble a turn 2 win with a precon. But otherwise, if the deck functions as it's designed, would be closer to a middle 3 or a low end 3. So when that happens, when that Christmas land scenario that Maldhound is freaking out about happens, does the perception at the table make people believe that it's a 4 and you're never allowed to play that deck again because their perception has changed? Or do you think it still remains a 3?
If you pop it off once.
Yeah, pop it off once. First time you ever play it.
I mean, no. I think that like it's about how your deck plays on average.
Yeah.
Everybody has nuts games. I've had games with decks where I literally got like a god and it wasn't even through my commander. It was like, I got the most nasty card. I got the Hullbreaker Horror from my deck out way too quick. I got it out unreasonably fast. And because I did the table scooped and was like, that's like a 5. No, man, I had exactly the 9 cards in order that I needed in order to do that. Sometimes you just get a royal straight flush.
It just happens.
Sometimes you just do.
And I'm a firm believer. And
I've never had that happen again. It happened one time, and I felt bad for every one of the 3 other players it happened to. But, then we got to wrap it up and play another game. And it certainly didn't happen the second time.
No, that's the one thing I will say about Magic in general is that, like, I believe
Commander too, high variability.
Yeah, high variability, and I believe to the core of who I am as a player and who I am as a person. It's like the best hand in the worst deck can beat the worst, or the best hand in the worst deck can beat the worst hand in the best deck. Like, it just comes down to the high variance, especially in Commander, like you said. That is possible. Like, you have win conditions, but I hope for the love of God you have win conditions.
Please have
in your
win
deck.
Conditions.
But
please have win conditions.
There is a chance and an opportunity for you to win before turn 6 in bracket 3. It just is. With the best hand possible. You should have that potential in your deck as a bracket 3 player.
Yeah.
All right. I hope this discussion was entertaining for all of you listeners out there. If you have your own opinions on bracket 3 and you want to drop them in the comments below, we love to interact. We want to talk with you guys about those things. If you want to have a even greater, more interactive discussion, you can jump on the Discord server where all 3 of us are there, and you can tag any of us, emphasize the points we made, discuss those. We're there for that. We're here for that. And then if you want to check this list out, you can find it in the YouTube description. I'll put a list down there, and then I'll also put it in the Discord server. You can find it there as well. Check it out. Give me all the props that are due. It's a super sick deck. And then, we can have conversations about those too, about this deck and how fun it is to play. All right. Well, before we get out of here, I want to ask a real quick question. Annihilator sent me a link that there is this pre-con tournament happening down in Portland at the end of this month. And what do you think is like the best pre-con to take to something like that? I think it's the party commander deck, like from Baldur's Gate.
Let me tell you, I've been to one of these.
Yeah,
in Los Angeles. You don't bring one. You get randomly.
Oh, okay. You don't get to bring one.
So the way these brain dead pre-con tournaments work is they have about 2 or 3 of every pre-con, and you spin a wheel.
Oh my God. So, okay. So before we go further into that, I understand that is random, but if you were to get one deck off of that wheel, what deck would you want it to be?
Oh, 2011 Kalia is pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Go Kalia.
It has master cruelties.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Yeah.
That's not a bad route.
I was saying the party on, or like the party.
No, I think the party, I was just looking at this. I think that's what
so much value.
Yeah. The one with Nalia is just insane.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Yep. And then the fact that she doesn't even just put counters on, the creatures that are in your party. She puts everything.
Death touch.
Yeah, everything gets counters, everything gets death touch. So it's really great go wide strategy with a lot of stacks pieces. Has like Aven Mind Sensor, has a few other things that fit your wizard or fit your party description. So
yeah.
All right. Anyway, this has been the MoxStars podcast, the #1 podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering and Dr. Pepper and Bracket 3 Spectrum discussions. So if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on YouTube where you can like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more notifications. You can also find us on all podcasting platforms where you can leave us a 5-star review to make us look super duper cool and help new people find the show. You can also support us on Patreon. By becoming an official Pepperhead for $3 a month, you can have your name turned Dr. Pepper Red on the Discord server like MacOyan, Definitely Jeremy, Mono Greg, Reven Lift, UWP Quirt, Will Rule, Pool Boy Barry, Ryan G, and Adam. Everyone give a quick shout out to Will Rule. He's a father now.
Hooray!
Oh,
Baby!
Congratulations.
yeah. And yeah, I'm an uncle.
Uncle Menace.
Uncle Menace. So anyway, we're getting out of here. Who wants to sign off? Annihilator, do it quick.
Bye. See ya.
Peace.